Hello, beautiful souls. I'm truly grateful you're here with me today because this is something I once guarded in silence. I didn't just study the unseen, I lived inside it. I walked the path of rituals, symbols, and energetic gateways, and I learned how small, ordinary choices people make every day can open doors they never meant to unlock. One of the biggest secrets we used was color. Not random fashion, not trends, frequency, and there is one day most people overlook, a quiet date that carries transitional energy, January 31. If you've ever felt emotionally strange, drained, or unusually reactive around this time of year, there's a reason. Today I'm sharing what I was taught about the colors people wear on this day, how those shades interact with spiritual currents, and how you can stay protected without fear, without rituals, just through awareness. When I was being trained, my teacher told me something that sounded ridiculous at first. She said, "Before you try to influence energy, look at what people are wearing." I thought power came from chants and symbols, but she explained that clothing color acts like an antenna. Every shade carries a vibration that either absorbs, reflects, or amplifies subtle energy around the body. January 31 was considered the threshold day, the closing breath of one energetic cycle before February's movement begins. Threshold days are powerful because boundaries are thinner. On those days, people are naturally more open emotionally and mentally. If they wear colors that match certain frequencies, their emotional field becomes easier to read, easier to affect, and easier for outside energies to attach to without them ever realizing something shifted. The color we watched most carefully was deep, heavy red, the shade that looks almost like dried wine or dark velvet. This wasn't the bright red of celebration. This was emotional red, tied to desire, memory, passion, and unresolved feelings. On January 31st, wearing that shade makes a person's emotional body louder in the unseen sense. It's like turning up the volume on everything they feel, even emotions they've buried. I saw people suddenly think about ex-partners they hadn't considered in years, feel unexplained irritation, or make impulsive decisions they later regretted. They believed it was coincidence or mood swings, but from where I stood, their energy field looked wide open, glowing with emotional signals that attracted attention from forces that feed on intensity and emotional charge. Another doorway color is charcoal gray. It looks neutral, safe, professional. But spiritually, gray represents the in-between, the undecided, the blurred line between clarity and confusion. On a threshold day like January 31, that frequency aligns with uncertainty. When someone wraps themselves in gray, their energetic boundaries can become softer, less defined. In the world I left, that was useful because unclear boundaries make subtle influence easier. People in gray often felt mentally foggy, second-guessing themselves, unable to fully trust their instincts. They were more likely to agree to things they normally wouldn't, more likely to feel drained by conversations, and more sensitive to the emotional states of others, absorbing moods that weren't even theirs. Dark purple was handled carefully during my time as a practitioner. Purple connects to intuition and spiritual awareness, but deep purple mixed with sadhu tones can open the mind without grounding the body. On January 31st, this created a dreamy, reflective state that feels spiritual but leaves practical judgment weaker. I watched people suddenly feel called to do things that felt meaningful in the moment but brought confusion later. They reached out to people from their past, made emotional promises, or followed impulses they couldn't explain. It wasn't that purple is bad, it's that on this particular day it amplifies openness without providing stability, and openness without grounding is exactly what makes energetic doorways easier to pass through. Black might surprise you. Many people think black is protective, and in some contexts it can be. But black also absorbs. On an energetically active day, wearing black can soak up surrounding emotional currents like a sponge. Sensitive people may feel heavy, tired, or emotionally loaded by the end of the day without knowing why. During group workings, we could sense who was dressed in black because their energy fields carried layers that weren't originally theirs. They picked up the emotional atmosphere of rooms, conversations, and environments more strongly. For someone already feeling stressed or emotionally vulnerable, that absorption effect could make their inner state feel darker than it actually was. Now here's the part that changed everything for me after I left that life. The safest colors were never dramatic. Soft, white, cream, light beige, and gentle earth tones created a reflective effect in the energetic field. These shades don't shout, they stabilize. Instead of absorbing or amplifying, they help energy move past you rather than into you. When people wore those tones on January 31, their emotional field stayed calm and less reactive. From a practitioner's perspective, they were harder to read, harder to emotionally hook, and harder to influence subtly. At the time, we avoided working on people dressed in those colors because it required more effort and produced weaker results. Soft blue was another stabilizing shade. Blue connects to calm communication and emotional balance. On a threshold day, it acts like emotional isolation. People in light blue tended to respond rather than react. They thought before speaking, felt less overwhelmed by sudden emotional waves, and kept a sense of inner space between themselves and external pressures. That space is powerful. Influence, whether from people or unseen forces, works best when reactions are immediate and emotional. Blue slows that process down. It creates breathing room inside the mind and heart, which weakens any outside attempt to stir chaos or impulsive decisions. One of the biggest secrets we relied on was people's unawareness. No one suspects their sweater or shirt is sending a signal into the subtle environment. During certain nights of work, I could look across a crowd and see energetic outlines around individuals based on what they wore. Some fields looked bright and sealed. Others looked porous and emotionally lit up. Those were the people whose moods shifted easily, whose thoughts became scattered, whose energy drained quickly. They were simply living normal lives, unaware that a combination of timing and color had made them more open than usual. But influence always has a price. The same energetic pathways used to affect others also made practitioners vulnerable over time. I began to feel drained, emotionally unstable, and disconnected from real peace. The more doors we opened outward, the more uninvited things came inward. That's when I started questioning everything I had been taught. Why did power feel heavy? Why did influence require emotional imbalance? I eventually realized true strength doesn't manipulate, it protects, stabilizes, and respects boundaries. That realization is what led me to walk away. After leaving, I focused on understanding protection instead of control. I learned that awareness alone closes many doors. When you consciously choose stabilizing colors on energetically active days, you reduce your openness to random influences. January 31 doesn't have to be a day of vulnerability. It can be a day of grounding and emotional clarity. Clothing becomes a quiet boundary, a signal that your energy is not available for interference. This isn't about fear. It's about the same common sense as carrying an umbrella when the sky looks like rain. You might wonder if this really affects everyday life. Think about days when your emotions felt amplified for no clear reason, when small issues trigger big reactions, or when you felt unusually drained after normal interactions. Sometimes we blame sleep or stress, but energetic environments also shift. On transition days, emotional currents move more strongly. What you wear either steadies you or makes you more porous. I've seen the difference too many times to dismiss it as coincidence. Protection doesn't mean hiding from life. It means moving through it with awareness. Choosing calm, reflective colors is like keeping your doors closed while still enjoying the fresh air through a window. You're present, engaged, but not exposed. Fear lowers your energy and creates openings. Calm intention strengthens boundaries. When you dress with the thought, my energy is steady and protected, that intention works with the color's frequency to create a stronger energetic field around you. Another truth I learned is that emotional stability is the strongest shield of all. No color can overpower a calm-centered mind, but colors can support or weaken that stability. On January 31, when emotional currents are naturally active, supportive colors make it easier to stay balanced. You think clearly, respond thoughtfully, and don't get swept into emotional waves that don't belong to you. That alone prevents many problems people later regret. Your intuition already senses energetic changes before your mind does. Have you ever felt like a day just felt off without a reason? That's your inner awareness, noticing subtle shifts. Honoring that instinct by making grounding choices, including clothing color, is an act of self-respect. It says you're paying attention to your well-being, not moving through life on autopilot. When I share this, it's not to make you suspicious of everything, it's to help you move with quiet confidence. The unseen world responds to frequency, but you are not powerless in it. Small conscious choices shape how much of that environment reaches you. Once you understand that, you stop feeling like life just happens to you. I also want you to know that real spiritual safety feels peaceful, not dramatic. If something makes you anxious and urgent, it's not aligned with your well-being. Protection feels like relief, like your shoulders dropping, like breathing easier. Choosing stabilizing colors is a gentle act, not a fearful one. Walking away from my past taught me that light doesn't force, it supports. True strength doesn't pry doors open, it knows which ones to keep closed. January 31 is simply a day when awareness matters a little more. You don't need rituals, symbols, or complex practices. Calm intention and wise choices are enough. So when that day comes, look at what you're about to wear. Ask yourself if it feels grounding, calm, and steady. Let your clothing support your emotional balance rather than amplify turbulence. It's a small shift with a powerful effect. I share this because I care about your peace. I've seen what happens on both sides of these doorways, and I know which path leads to freedom. Awareness, calm, and steady energy, that's where real strength lives. Remember, you are not here to be energetically available to everything around you. You are here to live, grow, and stay whole. Sometimes, even something as simple as color can help you do exactly that.